So we invited some of our customers and family to come and watch us splitting our Australian native beehives and harvesting their honey. Australian native bees are stingless and look completely different to the European honeybees. They are much smaller. We have about 15 hives altogether now. Paul's just undoing the hive now. We also have plenty of hotels for our bees that are solitary. Paul builds all these bee hotels as well. We generally see a lot of leafcutter bees going into these solitary holes in the bee hotels. As soon as the beehives are disturbed, the bees will come out swarming, trying to protect themselves.
I can already feel them on my...
Oh yeah, they're coming for me too.
If you want one. No, they don't sting.
They might just grab onto your eyelashes.
Yeah, go up your nose.
So this is where the honey is in the top part, if there is any. So let's have a little. Good bit there. So what we'll do, we'll split the hive first, and then I'll do the honey.
Right, you seem to like that.
Yeah.
They're so nice though, they're so little.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of the yeah. So in the hive, so it's just so entrance there, and that's just empty hive there. That's where they're going up and to make their honey, and that's the other half of the hive. So all we do when we split, we just take one half, put the other half. Put the other half in, and that's your hive. So, so that's the.
Friendly little things. They are.
They're not normally this friendly. It's only when you're disturbing their home.
Oh yeah, they never get like this when you don't.
Left to their own devices.
So you need to loosen the sections of the hive with a lever and pry it open. Sometimes some effort is required as the bees stick the boxes together to keep out predators. Because they are stingless, these bees are great as pets, honey producers and pollinators. Paul builds all of our hives from hardwood. Inside the hive, the bees protect themselves by constructing a strong nest wall and entrance tube with guard bees to scare away any intruders. They reduce the size of the entrance and continue it as an internal tube to make it highly defendable. They are less capable than the European honeybees to maintain tight control of temperature, but they do a pretty good job.
So if you look up and underneath, so I'll give you this top half, so that's all the eggs and bits and pieces there. So all we do is just set that on there like that. And I'll lock that up.
So you can see on this new hive now, the two on top are the old original ones and the bottom's empty.
Just put that on there and block it up. So that's one hive split. That's right. Yep. Now I'll do the what I'll do there is I'll put them got over there. So what they'll do is they'll be happy just trying to go back into their hive now, and I'll see if we can get some of this. What they do is when they have a bite, so every so often they'll have a swarm, and they'll actually, if the hive gets too big, they start fighting each other, and there'll be thousands of them like this, and they'll just go round and round fighting each other, and they and then you can have a yogurt.
They've taken a liking.
Yeah, throw one on. Yeah, the funny thing is they say whiskers. A lot of the they.
So you can use these hats designed for flies while you're splitting the beehives.
So what we'll do, we'll get this honey.
Rex, do you want one?
I'm tough.
There's quite a few different ways of doing the
Let
honey.
us see you being tough, Rex.
I haven't.
Mate, we'll just swarm one over the front of it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What they do when they swarm, as I was saying, they'll bite, they'll attack each other, and they'll just bite, but they don't let go, and they'll just sit there, and that's what they do as far as being their their warrior mentality, they end up just biting and hanging on until they die. So they won't actually let go. So as soon as they latch on, that's it. And you come out sometimes, and I've walked out and I've seen on the ground it's just littered with bees, and it's quite. You're like, oh, not my bees! What are you doing? You know. But they say
That's just their way of thinning
it's
out.
exactly thinning each other out. Or if one what they'll do if the breeze blows and goes across the other hive. So if they're coming into land here and they get blown across to the other hive, they'll actually it can start a bit of a battle that way as well. So yeah. Okay, let's get this honey going so we can close this up. So if you have a look here as well, all of that there's heaps of bees in there. All of that there is just the pockets for the honey. And I'll just
They use a mix of beeswax produced by their glands and plant resins to build their home. Australian native beeswax is softer and has a lower melting point than the European bee. Although it doesn't look very fun for the bees, splitting the beehives artificially like this is the most certain way to enhance their populations. You should not split your hive if it isn't healthy enough. You can usually tell by the weight of the hive since the last split, or by the number of bees hanging around the hive. Don't split a hive in the rain, as it could stimulate the growth of fungus inside. And try to avoid really hot or really cold weather as well. These bees build a distinct comb for rearing their young and a different kind for storing their food. The food storage pots are full of honey or pollen and are stored separately to the brood. The food pots are much bigger than the brood cells. The stingless bees collect nectar from flowers and process it into honey for later consumption. The flavour of the honey changes depending on the source of the nectar, the enzymes the bees add, and the pots used to store the honey. The Australian native honey has excellent microbial activity, and they only produce 1 kilo of honey per year, but the flavour is unique and exquisite. The honey is not officially regarded as a honey, as the term sugar bag is the best term to use. It comes from the Australian Aboriginal peoples and refers to the fact that the pollen is usually mixed with the honey after collection from the nest.
yeah. That when they always when you split the hive they get a bit, you know. And it's not yeah.
The Australian native honey has been used by our Indigenous people as a medicine, and this is now supported by scientific research. It is sought after by many allergy sufferers for help with hay fever. The honey pots damaged during splitting and extracting the honey are quickly rebuilt, but we won't extract the honey or split this hive now for at least another year. The bees need time to build their insulating structures. There are other more sophisticated ways of getting the honey out, but we're just using the old-fashioned way. After splitting the hive, you put the hive parts back together again. We use strapping and buckles. By the time they deteriorate, the bees would have stuck the different parts together anyway. After dividing the hives, one should remain in the original position and the new one can be moved. If you take the new hive more than 1 kilometre away from their original hive, they will have to learn their new position. Also, the hive that has the original full top and empty bottom means that the bees will have to learn a new entrance which will look unfamiliar to them. It is suggested to leave the original full top and empty new bottom in the original position and move the original full bottom and empty top to the new location. This means that the hive in the original position, they know where they are, they just need to locate the unfamiliar new entrance. And the bees that get taken to the new location have to work out where they are, but at least they have their entrance that's familiar to them. If you leave the new hive near the old hive, it doesn't really matter where you put them, as long as they have everything they need. They will be very quiet for a while, because the house bees are inside spending time fixing up the home.
Yeah, so it's they're little sacks. They're just all they are. They're called sugar bag bees, or what else are they called? Sugar bag bees, and obviously native stingless, but it is a bit like you start to see that, and there's so many of the little bees just they won't leave, and they're like, yeah, bit of honey.
Oh. That's a bit used to being around,
Yeah, well, that's right.
They're hard earned.
Well, that's right. So I tried it like in the actual egg part. There's a lot of honey and pollen in that area as well. So I try not to touch any of that in there, obviously, because that's a lot of their store. But right now, the timing, like this is the best time of the year because all their plants are out, so they can make the honey and collect the pollen a lot easier. I think that's about it for that one. There wasn't a lot in that one.
No, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
getting the
Squeeze the bottom of the
bag.
Look at that liquid gold here in the bowl. Some bees do die in the extraction process, but it is little consequence to the colony. Most of the bees will recover and make their way back to the hive. The loss of bees during this process is a lot less than when they're just at war with each other in natural fighting swarms on a regular basis.
So you had 5 hives, 6 hives.
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got more in other places as well.
I've got a couple of other friends who have hives at their place as well. So I like in the jar.
Yeah, don't get the bees stuck in the honey.
No, I'll have to. I might run another. That's all right. Just because there's a few bees in there, I'll just run that through again.
The native bee honey seems a bit thinner and more runny than European honey as well.
Slowly starting to settle down. I can feel them not as fast.
So how long have you been doing this?
I don't know how long now. Probably
2 years.
3 years, maybe 3 years, 4 years. So there's just a couple of books. There's a guy in Brizzy who's he's what do they call him?
The bee man.
Oh, the Bee Man or something. He's really he's written a couple of books. Tim someone, and he's just specialises in these bees, and so they're quite. He's like his book's quite like one
like
of
a
the best.
textbook.
It is almost like the textbook of these bees now.
The sugar bag honey is most delicious fresh from the hive, but after this, keep your sugar bag honey in the fridge to prolong its shelf life. It can be kept at a room temperature for some time, but it's best left in the dark so that the light doesn't destroy the valuable enzymes that produce the antibiotic agents in it. Restaurants that promote native or novel food are starting to express an interest in sugar bag honey. And demand is expected to grow rapidly as awareness increases.
I tasted that one. Did you have a taste?
Get your finger in there. No, I haven't tasted yet. Good.
They all taste different. Every time you do
So
it.
whatever's flowering gives it a different.
Yeah. This one's very. It tastes very caramel. Do you taste it, Paul?
No, not yet.
It tastes like caramel. The last one tasted like lemon. So
Oh.
Just videoing the whole
Ordeal.
experience
Oh, okay. Yeah.
to the jarred bottle of honey that you get afterwards. So it's taken 19 minutes.
There you go. Well, we've already got one small jar of honey, but
We will definitely enjoy this.